Welcome to Blind Cafe's Naked DJs podcast, where every day we expose ourselves to the very best music. Some days we like to shake it up, some days we let it all hang out, and others we just like to stick it out there for you to listen to.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Naked DJs podcast. I am your host, DJ Curveball. The Naked DJs podcast is brought to you by the DJs of Blind Cafe Radio, where every day we expose ourselves to the best of music. Why, you ask? Just so we can stick it out there for you to listen to. We got some interesting topics for you today. We're going to be talking about people melting snow in Texas just to be able to flush their toilet. And we're going to be talking about some other interesting things. So we can start with the snow melting by country singer Tanya Tucker. Go ahead and kick that off, Julie.
And they had to melt snow, flush about.
Yeah, well, I know, in a lot of cases you might have to boil water and do things. Hey, at least they had that available to them to be able to do that. So that's great that they were able to do that, because Texas has been going through a hard time this past week with the cold weather and stuff that they don't normally deal with. Johnny, what's your opinion on it?
Well, having lived in South Carolina, they don't get too much snow that shows, because in 2018, South Carolina got hit with a snowstorm, and when they tried to plow a road, they plowed a little too deep, took the road up, but it wasn't as bad as Texas. And you do what you got to do to survive, I reckon. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny because she was out there doing the video, and I guess the guy she's talking to says, "Don't get the yellow snow." She goes, "No, we're gonna make that yellow later on." And it's like, did she just really say that? It's like, whoa. But you do what you got to do to survive, I guess. But I don't think they were ready for that down there at all. But that's my opinion of that.
Well, yeah, they definitely are not ready for that type of snow. I mean, Dallas will have ice sometimes, but way down where it got into Austin, they might have a storm like that every 20 years. And even where I'm from in Louisiana, they had ice storm and difficult weather that we don't usually have. MJ, what you think about this story? You guys don't have that snow like that in Florida. Do you think if you had a snowstorm like that in Florida that you'd be melting snow to flush your toilet?
If we had a snowstorm like that here in Florida and power went out, that was acted, and I thought too. Rick also could too. He's in here.
Because Julie likes snow.
That's what I was just going to say. She likes it. So go ahead and give us your opinion, Julie and DJ Rick Rock.
And I would flee. The time they hit the ground, they were gone.
Just a quick comment. I heard that walking 5 miles in the snow is just a story that people tell. It's kind of like a myth that you'll tell your kids or grandkids. You guys think you have it so hard? I had to walk 5 miles in the snow. Is that true?
Yes, that is true, because my dad used to tell us that. My grandfather would tell us that. Actually, my dad, let's see, how did he put it? We walked 5 miles in the snow both ways uphill while wearing what they call laughing. You don't know what a laughing shoe is. It's where the sole of the shoe is starting to come off, and it looks like a mouth, kind of like laughing and stuff when you're walking.
So Julie walked 10 miles in the snow every...
Yeah, she doesn't know what snow is, unfortunately. And I used to have to deliver papers in the snow and ride a bike at the same time. But I think the unfortunate thing that we're finding out about Tanya is that she's broke. And she found an opportunity to produce a video that's nothing more than clickbait. And the sad part of it is she didn't have enough money for someone to go get the snow and water for her. And unfortunately, I think she's probably, with her career long gone, she's probably ran out of money. And this is a great opportunity to get some YouTube money, some box money that they like to get. So I think it's unfortunate to see her demise at that point. But, you're not going to see, Garth Brooks down there out there trying to do that with the snow. So, or his lovely wife. But that's all right. It's fun to watch.
I had burst but a year ago, and flowers while I'm still alive. It was an outstanding.
Well, and Johnny, just so you know, you guys call them laughing shoes. We just say, oh, your shoes are talking.
Oh yeah, same thing too. But yeah, but we heard it all the.
Maria, what's your opinion on the snow melting?
I was a power failure in New York and the Eastern Seaboard back in the and I went to my cousin's house, and he lived on the 4th floor. There was no electric pump to get the water up there, so he had to pour water in his tank. It was not cold weather. We were not freezing. And this is one of those, this whole thing that's been going on with Texas. It happened in the freezing cold. People froze to death. One of the few stories that actually makes me look at my own life, and I feel lucky. It was a disaster. It was a horrible disaster. To show someone who has a lot of spirit will just go out and get her own snow. It shows that, people do what they have to do to survive. But wow, I'm glad that blackout that I went through was in nice warm weather. I was walking around at midnight trying to get to my cousin's house, his apartment in Manhattan, so that I'd have a place to stay. And it worked out very well. Really horrible.
Absolutely. And DJ Tom, what would you do in that situation? What do you think about it, and what would you do to keep Pepper the parrot warm in that cold weather?
Well, I grew up in Ohio, so I honestly know what snow and blizzard conditions are all about. With regard to living here in Florida, though, I remember that cold snap, and where the snow did kind of stick here in Florida in '89. I also remember the rolling blackouts that came with it. I was trying to work with a group of singers and musicians. We were trying to put on a worship service, and the rolling blackouts caused our session to take 5-10 minute breaks, because we were trying to use multimedia and sound and all that, and it just didn't work out so well.
Anybody else got any comments on this subject?
I know that and power, I was back to that.
Well, the geographic locations in the country, a lot of them that deal with inclement conditions, they're used to it. They know they're prepared for it. They know how to handle it. Places like Texas, they might get a little cold, but they don't have the dire conditions that they had. So it's easy to get in a situation that you're not prepared for, because you're not used to it. That's not part of how you roll in that geographic area.
That's right. Some cities are really prepared. I mean, New York gets hit, and it does paralyze the city a little bit for a little while. I remember in the fall, and there were walls of the road, but they knew how to deal with it, or at least they're set up to deal with it on a more permanent basis.
Well, being out here in the Maine, yeah, we get our share of snowstorms. Like last Monday, we got 11.5 inches dumped on us. Now it's practically all gone. But yeah, when we get a snowstorm, I know it's going to go from the Midwest to the East, and I normally get, blamed by my mom for it. So I'm thinking, if a snowstorm ever hit down in Florida, I'm pretty sure I'd get a call from Julie thanking me profusely, / sarcasm, about sending her some snow.
Yeah, those places that are used to dealing with stuff like that, they're going to be better prepared. Like Texas doesn't have the plows and stuff. I know here we had a little bit of a rolling blackout for a couple of days. It got down to -16 at night and -1 in the day, so they needed to kind of preserve some energy. Didn't experience a power loss here at home, but for a couple hours at work, we had a rolling blackout. Anybody else got anything to say about this subject?
Well, that's not going to happen for a while because the governor stopped the electric cooperatives from billing people because they screwed up the billing and people were getting bills for thousands of dollars instead of hundreds. That's mismanagement to the greatest degree. I think what it shows, as far as Tanya Tucker, it shows the resilient spirit of people because, she's going to do what she has to do to bounce back and continue to be a success.
Including, as Rick Rock said, those clickbait videos. But yeah, they want us to pay all this money for the electric bills, but can't keep the power on. But yeah, definitely praying for Texas and hope everybody's okay. I know they're getting out of it, and hopefully next time we can do something to prevent it. Anybody else got any comments? We'll go on to the next topic, but before we do so, make sure, listeners, if you have any comments about the Tanya Tucker story, and maybe you might have your own experience if you live down in Texas and maybe a place that wasn't prepared for the weather that you got, leave us some comments on the video about what you did, and maybe you have your own snow melting story. So go ahead and leave us that as well and drop it to us. We would love to hear from you. All right, let's go on to our next topic. It's going to be done by Dr. Johnny Love because I got the names backwards. Johnny was supposed to prevent the first story, but we're going to be talking about now about how radio has changed now that you can do your own play. Dolly Parton turned down them making a statue of her. So Johnny, you want to talk about that?
Alrighty, let's go with the Dolly Parton statue first. Yeah, the Tennessee wanted to build Dolly Parton a statue because of all the stuff she's done for them, and she basically turned them down for it. And a lot of people are going like, "Well, that was a nice thing," but a lot of people are thinking it's a stupid thing. I myself, I think it was a pretty cool thing that she turned it down and stuff because she's not. Everyone thinks she's kind of like on a high. I mean, they all love Dolly Parton. We all love, but her turning down the statue, that just shows me that she's all class. And
Did she give a reason, Johnny?
I believe she saw what was going on around because I think Tennessee also got hit pretty hard with the weather too, and she just didn't feel comfortable with them building a statue to her. Don't do that.
Tennessee did get hit also hard, so yes, and that is big of her to say, hey, there's too much other important stuff going on.
I love Dolly Parton, and she was having a statue have one of herself. She did say, though, that if she dies and they still wanted to do that, they were quite well.
Rick Rock, you love you some Dolly Parton too? What's your opinion?
Well, I really do like Dolly Parton, and to me, she's an icon of not just country music, but music in general, and by far one of the most prolific music writers out there. So, is the statue really befitting enough for the Queen? She has her own Dolly World. I mean, let's just change the name of the state of Tennessee to Dolly's World. It's Dolly. It's not Tennessee. It's Nashville Dolly is what it is. So, statues just ain't good enough for the queen of country music, and she was just being nice.
I don't think changing the name of Tennessee would go over well with a few Tennesseans who have come from there.
Yeah, but Dolly could change her mind. Who's going to say no to Dolly?
Point well taken. I would never.
I bet.
Even Louis Armstrong sang about how good Dolly was before Dolly even was good.
Ah, yes, when she was with Porter Wagner.
Now that was.
Yeah, everybody, Dolly, and I have even more respect for her for turning that down and saying, hey guys, let's focus on the real stuff. Maria, what do you think about Miss Dolly?
Well, I'm impressed. Let's use the money for where it's needed. She did do the right thing.
Tom, what do you think about it?
I know people that have actually worked with Dolly, and what they have told me is that she is down to earth and real and transparent and humble. What you see is what you get, I've been told. She's nothing but a classy lady.
Oh, I've had respect for Dolly Parton, and after hearing how she turned down the statue, man, that just magnified my respect for her.
Same here. All right. Anybody else got any comments on that part A of that topic?
Well, I would have to had her Biden.
Well, yeah, I understand about the political views and not being able to take it or not wanting to do it. I definitely understand.
She said that's why she survived. So it's quite fun. Wangle her way around.
Still has
Her and Betty White, as far as I'm concerned, will be.
Yeah, Dolly still has the she still knows how to sing.
I could see her doing a remake of 9 to 5.
Let her do a heavy.
Anybody else got anything?
Now I
I
think
would never do that. I mean, you got to figure, because look what Big and Rich did to the AC/DC song, right? So let Dolly go, kind of get little back at him, you know?
It's Michael's favorite song.
I hate that song. I can't believe that was it. That I
Yes, she did Stairway to Seven. And was it Beast of Burden she did?
yeah,
No,
she did
Save
a
the
few,
Light.
but not a lot.
She did Save the Last Dance for Me. I remember hearing that, which I was not too fond of. Other covers, I don't really know. I'd have to look that one up.
Maybe we should play that song that Michael doesn't like for our intro and outro and background music to this podcast.
No.
Yeah, I think we should. Let's do it.
No, because I don't. No, just please, I beg.
All the more reason to do it. Michael and Johnny both don't like it. Do it.
Yeah, and listeners, if you got any comments on this Dolly Parton story, hit us up in the comments and let us know what you would do if you had the opportunity to get off of the statue or a press award.
So the one thing I will say about Dolly, though, and understanding that she is just a very smart individual and a smart businesswoman, I think she realizes, like a lot of us do, statues are a thing of the past, and the ones we have should be in museums and history, and not to be marveled at for centuries. There's places to go to see this kind of stuff, and I think the thing we need to do is make sure that everything has its place, but then history is taught properly, right? And unfortunately, I don't know that the school systems today really do teach that history properly, but I think she recognized the times that we're in. She understands that these things are not important. She knows she's going to be a good part of the history of country music, but history is left for museums and other places, not just to be sitting around in a park or wherever.
Yeah, we just don't want a statue out.
Well, that's true.
That is a point well taken.
And besides, my people had statues long before. They don't need them anymore. My people being the Roman.
Anybody else? Do you love collecting comic books? How about action figures? Are you looking for that special gift for someone? Then the comic collection is the place for you. They have Pokemon, vinyls from days gone by, collectibles. Do you love collecting comic books? How you have questions about the comic collection? Are you looking for that special gift for someone? Then the comic collection is the place for you. That's 215 Pokemon 357 from days gone by. Or visit them on the web at www. If you have questions about the comic collection.net, call where you can enjoy 215 lower 357 at the mall 3332. That's www.215.thecomiccollection.net. Or visit them on the web at www.thecomiccollection.net, where you can enjoy prices lower than you will find at the mall. That's www.thecomiccollection.net. All right, we are back after that sponsor break. Now, Johnny, we're going to be talking about radio. How do we think the platform has changed with being able to make your own playlist? You know, you can get on several internet radio platforms, do your own playlist. So some people might feel like, what's the point? What do you think about that, Julie? How do you feel about how radio has changed because of that?
I still like to. I like my son, so I still.
Well, we can have the DJs, but it can definitely be online. You know, do you feel like you guys feel like it'll kill terrestrial radio, or you think it's just gonna be people still like Julie, still like to hear her DJs? Because I know I like my DJs.
I don't think it's gonna kill the regular FM stations or even the AM station. I mean, they still exist too, but it's getting to anybody can just set up you get you get like a platform, go on it, get the stuff to set it up with, boom, shut down regular radio, FM radio. I don't think so. Although I do have to admit, I don't like the way the radio is now, the FM radio, because it's all more it's more let's play music and not have the regular DJs like I grew up. And to me, that just annoys me. But they still have a DJ. That's cool. But the internet radio, I think, is going to carve a bigger niche, here in the business. But I don't think it's going to kill off the regular radio myself.
Well, here's the thing about terrestrial radio. Terrestrial radio right now is getting more of the advertising dollars because you can verify how many listeners that you have. But with internet radio, you might not be able to do that, so you might not be able to charge as much. And plus, a lot of the terrestrial radio stations are just going online, so they're basically an internet radio station, but they got the transmitter. Tom, what's your opinion?
I think listeners are more demanding of what they want, and the quality of what they want is much higher. Terrestrial radio, as far as AM is concerned, I read an article recently that talked about AM radio going strictly digital instead of carrier wave, where they can do cross-platform things like go online or have repeaters in certain geographic areas where they want to cover, rather than rely on just the carrier wave or the or nighttime broadcast with the ionosphere, the radio wave bouncing off of that. The other problem that AM radio has is because of the listeners wanting a better quality, the audio quality on AM has always been questionable when you measure it against digital quality, internet radio, or FM. So the AM radio, two things are happening. Number one, they're going in different directions as far as digital repeater type things, and going on cross platforms like internet radio. The other thing that AM radio is doing, they're pulling away from music and they're going more talk radio or topic type radio formats. Like a lot of the AM stations are doing things like financial, for example. And so that's what's going to kill AM terrestrial radio. I think FM's going to survive. I think FM's going to be around a long, long time. Not so sure about AM radio.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question here. What is terrestrial radio? I mean, did E.T. get his own radio station I don't know about?
That's extraterrestrial.
Apparently he did, because that's what they called it in school, and that's what people are calling it. Rick Rock, pass it over to you.
Well, it'll be interesting to radio and internet radio as we recover from COVID, because there just wasn't the drive numbers that FM radio thrives on, especially in many of the major metropolitan areas where there was heavier lockdowns. And so that the numbers couldn't have been all that good, and more people are sitting at home and working from home and listening from home, but are they listening on their computers, Alexa, or where are they listening? And I think there's going to be a shakeout. I don't know how it's going to unfold or what that's going to mean, but I think you're going to see an industry that's going to change, especially as, the way artists deliver their music has changed, and the way these people get paid has changed. And so I think it's just going to keep evolving, and who knows what may develop in the next 5 or 6 years with how things are unfolding.
I agree with you, Rick. I think in the whole scope of how we look at what we listen to, I think it's going to become a lot more deregulated. The FCC has so much to say now about what you're able to do, and I think that's going to change. There's going to be less regulatory restrictions, and there's going to be a lot more freestyle thought of how you're able to present your music and present your formats.
Maria, what's your opinion?
Well, the two different things that we're touching on here is the type of medium. Is it terrestrial radio? Is it digital internet radio? And I think, the way is going towards digital. But the other part of it is the style. Do we just want a stream of music? Do we want all the songs we know and just songs that we picked out? Or do we want to host a DJ? And I think that there's still, at least as far as I'm concerned, a demand for a DJ, a host, someone to keep you company while you listen to your music. They are two different types of entertainment, and we've got to face it. The digital era is here.
The demographics of AM radio specifically show that people under 45 years of age to AM radio. Basically, the folks that listen to AM radio these days are 45 years old and up.
Yeah, that's true, because a lot of people are doing internet radio that are younger, or these different platforms. MJ, what's your opinion?
I definitely AM first, for the fact that, let's go back with now exact same after demographics. Tom is correct. Nowadays, Pandora, Apple, iHeart, they are still second in to that. FM, what is it? 7 have
that goes back to my point about what listeners are wanting. They're wanting a higher audio. Can't talk. They want a higher audio quality. So therefore, what you can produce through the medium of internet radio or digital content is so much better than the old school way of doing things.
Well, I know back in the late 70s, there was AM radio was basically, they played music, but they did talk to, because I know WABC did the DJs and stuff like that I grew up listening to. And WFAN at night would actually do on a Saturday night. And MJ, you would have loved this. One guy talked about wrestling. Believe it or not, you would have loved that. In fact, I remember just thinking about that made me smile, because I'm thinking, hey, MJ made that. He's bringing that back. I like that. But yeah, after I think talk radio came more like in the mid 80s on AM.
Well, I remember ABC went talk. I was very unhappy because I grew up with that station.
That I don't know. I think it could be. Don't take that as the gospel.
Well, you know, AM's going to be what AM is, but let's pay tribute to WLS in Chicago. Larry Lujak growing up. My goodness, that was the way to do it right there.
I was thinking Harry Harrison, George Michael. I didn't discover Cousin Brucey until CBS FM station in New York. But those are all great DJs.
Okay, we're gonna be comparing DJs here. Let's start out with, how about the Wolfman Jack? Yep, he was good. Like Maria said, Ron Lundy, Harry Harrison. I remember Cousin Brucey from ABC and WCBS FM and stuff like that. Those are all the guys I grew up listening to too. In fact, even Murray the K. If you
Well, I guess we could start, recording talk shows as podcasts and putting them on the platforms, Pandora and stuff, so you could choose the talk stations, and just like you could choose a playlist of music, choose a playlist of talk radio.
Choose the Naked DJ.
Sounds good to me.
That's right. You want a podcast with the most?
Yep. And do we have any more comments on this topic?
I actually have one question. It's actually to Julie. Julie, I know England or what?
Well, first you got to figure out whether they had electricity by then to see whether they had radio.
In England, yes, there was Jimmy Savile when I got Jack.
And
of course, Casey Kasem.
And you do know, I believe our friend Mike Russell, he was also a...
Oh, how could I forget Casey?
And how did radio differ in the UK than it does here? Or is there any kind of difference?
I think that would podcast.
Just thought of that too.
I like that.
Well, I know the accents are different. They got the English accents over there in the UK radio.
Yeah, they say we talk.
And if Rick doesn't make it back to the podcast because of that electricity comment, we know why. All right, anybody else got any other comments?
I hope it's warm where you're at there, Rick, because you're going to be in the doghouse, brother.
You should know my doghouse is pretty plush.
Yeah, but you don't have no snow to melt to flush that toilet.
Remember, Julie, you can't get anything unless you hide if you hide the body. Okay?
Every doghouse comes with...
Absolutely. Anybody else got anything before we close it out? And listeners, if you have any comments on this topic, you know what to do. Hit us up in that comment section.
Hey, Curtis, I was wondering, how about if maybe like we take suggestions from some listeners about what we should do for a topic, maybe.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be great, listeners. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what the Naked DJs should do, what topics we should talk about from week to week. If you give us the suggestions, we will make it happen.
To a point.
We always got something to say, but we listeners would definitely like your spin on it.
Make it clean. That's all we have.
Absolutely. Well, all right. On that note, we're going to go ahead and close it out for this week. Thank you guys for listening. Listeners, please be sure to comment, subscribe, share, rate, and review after listening. Until next time, we station that raises Cain.
Go and check out Blind Cafe Radio at blindcaferadio.com, and also follow us on Twitter at Blind Cafe Radio and on Facebook at Blind Cafe Radio. Make sure you visit our webpage at blindcaferadio.com, where you can visit our naked DJ. And this is the Blind Cafe Kangaroo signing off.